Welcome to The Explainer, where we take big, complex topics and, well, we break them down into guides you can actually understand.
Have you ever looked at a really slick, modern website and just thought, how in the world did they build that? Well, today we're pulling back the curtain on one of the most popular tools for the job. We're going to distill the core of an 11-hour masterclass on the web framework, Laravel. Okay, here's our game plan. We're going to follow a learning journey, starting with, what Laravel even is. Then we'll look at what you can actually build with it. And finally, we'll break down the key steps to get you up and running on your own project.
So, first things first. What is Laravel, really? Let's get a nice, clear definition.
Okay, think of it like this. If you wanted to build a house, you could start by chopping down trees and milling the lumber yourself. Or you could start with a pre-built foundation, a solid frame, and a kit of professional-grade power tools. Laravel is that second option for web development. It handles all the boring, tedious stuff, like setting up a complete user login system, which you can do with one command, so you can get straight to building the cool, creative features that make your app special.
Theory is great, but what does this actually look like in the real world? Honestly, the best way to grasp its power is to see what it can create, like the amazing car selling application that's built from scratch in our source material.
Yeah, we're not talking about a simple blog here. This is a full-blown dynamic application. You've got advanced search filters, user accounts that can log in with Google, personal watch lists, secure contact forms. There's even a whole dashboard for sellers. These are the kinds of complex features that would normally be a huge headache, but Laravel makes building them feel, well, surprisingly manageable.
All right, so let's say you're sold. You see what's possible, and you're ready to jump in. Where do you even begin? Well, it all starts with getting the right development environment set up on your own computer. You've got a couple of great options here. On one side, you have Laravel Herd. It's the modern, super streamlined choice that makes setup incredibly fast. It's what's used in the tutorial for a reason. On the other side, you've got XAMPP, which is kind of the classic all-in-one workhorse that's been trusted for years. Honestly, both will get the job done. And of course, you need a place to actually write your code. Most developers use the free editor VS Code, but the real pro tip is to supercharge it with a few key extensions like these. They give you syntax highlighting and all sorts of handy shortcuts that just make the whole experience so much smoother. Now this is where the magic really happens. Once your tools are ready, you literally just open your terminal, type one single command, and bam, you have a complete, fully structured application ready for you to build on. You go from nothing to a working project in seconds. It's incredible. Okay, so you've got a project. Now for the really crucial part. We need to understand what happens when a user actually visits your site. They type a URL into their browser, they hit enter. What's going on behind the scenes?
Now listen up, because this right here, this three-step flow, is the absolute backbone of how every single Laravel application works. If you get this, you're most of the way there. First, the route acts like a traffic cop. It sees the URL request. Second, the route sends that request to a specific controller, which is where all the thinking and logic happens. And third, the controller gathers up any data it needs and passes it to a view, which is the final web page the user sees. Route, controller, view. It's a clean, organized pattern that just makes sense.
And just look at how readable the code is for this process. You don't have to be a programming whiz to understand that. It literally just says, when someone visits the /about URL, show them the about view. You're just describing what you want to happen. It's so intuitive.
All right, let's move on to the next big piece of the puzzle, storing and retrieving information. We're talking user accounts, car listings, all that good stuff. This is an area that can get really complicated, but it's also a place where Laravel absolutely shines and saves you a ton of headaches. Laravel splits this into two brilliant concepts. First, you have migrations. Think of these as the architectural blueprints for your database. They're just code files that define all your tables and columns, and you can track changes to them over time. It's genius. And then you have Eloquent. And Eloquent is the real magic. It's what lets you talk to your database, but in a simple, conversational way, without ever having to write complex SQL code. So the key takeaway here is you do not need to be a database expert. Instead of some long, messy SQL query, you get to write clean code that reads almost like plain English. You can just say, find me the car with an ID of 1, or get all the cars where the year is less than 2020. It's simple, it's powerful, and it's just a joy to work with. Wow, we've covered a lot of ground here, from setup all the way to handling data. So as you start your own journey, what are the big ideas you really need to focus on? Your entire learning journey is really going to revolve around mastering these 5 core pillars. You've got your Artisan command line tool, your routing system, the Blade templating engine, the Eloquent ORM for your database, and your controllers to keep things organized. Think of these 5 as your main tool set. Each one is designed to make your development process faster and honestly a lot more fun. When you combine these tools, you have everything you need to turn just about any idea you can dream up into a real, functional web application. So, I guess the only question left is, what will you build first?